All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you'll see it.
All right. So we are recording. Hi.
Hi.
And I thought maybe, oh, stop, I don't care. You could introduce yourself a little bit and then, like, we're going to do this fastly because it's a 45-minute presentation and it's a whole bunch of photographers and it's like SPE, which is the Society of Photographic Education.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably at this point people are into multimedia as well. So that's our audience. And maybe I can pull up the questions if that's helpful.
I have them up also.
Oh, you have them? All right,
Yep.
cool. I'm gonna actually pull them up. Where are they?
The subject line was like question mark for Hangout or Google Hangout.
Oh, questions. Okay. Yeah, sometimes that's my yeah, it's just everything's not working for me right now. I mean, even I went to sharpen a pencil and pencil sharpener broke. I was like, "Are you serious?"
It's always the way it is when you're under a deadline, right?
Yeah, it's just sucky. I just can't find the questions.
I have what a track. I could send them to you.
Yeah, could you? I just can't
Yeah.
find them. I'm sure they're in here somewhere.
1 second.
I'll probably find them at the same time you send them.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Forwarding.
I can't find it.
Okay. Should get them in a sec.
Okay. Maybe this will. Why?
So you're going to be combining the various interviews, basically?
Yeah, and my plan. I don't know if it's gonna work because this has really turned into like a science project. I thought it would be cool to show like for me to not be the face of Salam Garage all the time and like have everybody else like part of this. Oh, here we go. Cool, part of it. And so what I wanted to, my original plan was to take bits and pieces of these interviews and just make it part of the presentation, and then put some of the pictures and some of the parts of the projects that you guys did, along with the pictures, your interview, maybe some of your audio underneath the pictures that you took of the people that you worked with.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll see. It's becoming tough. So, anyway, so could you, Steph, actually, do I have your permission to use this for the presentation at SPE, anything related to Salam Garage?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So could you introduce yourself and let me know what attracted you to Salam Garage and then this project?
Okay, so I'm Stephanie Hansen. I'm a photographer and a producer sort of means project manager. So with Salam Garage, I work on the Aging Out of Foster Care project and help coordinate moving the whole project forward. So that means meetings and deadlines and keeping track of all of those moving pieces to make sure we actually do something productive. And what attracted me to the project is actually what attracted me to Slum Garage first was having heard you speak at one point, I think when I was in school, and then years later going to Haiti and doing some photojournalism there. And when I came home, wanted to find a way to be integrated in that same kind of work in my community. So there I had Slum Garage was like kind of the perfect example. Local was just being born at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when we started talking, Local was starting and New York City was working on Aging Out of Foster Care. And so that was the first project, and it seemed like, because it was the first local project, sort of the perfect time to start getting it integrated.
Cool. So pushing things forward, being project manager, producing, all that sounds really like hard and difficult and all that and boring and just not fun. So what, knowing that was your role when we went in as a co-producer, What made you stick it out? Because you've been with this from the beginning, and so I'm gonna edit out my question, so part of my question in the answer.
Sure.
Like that sounds hard and sounds like a lot of extra work. So what on earth would make you want to do something like this?
Well, my motivation for sticking it out, though, being a producer is tough a lot of the time. I think if you're a producer, you sort of just have it in your blood, and I know that's kind of a cop-out, but it's true. I think if it's something that you're good at, then it makes it more fun. If it's not something you're good at, being a producer would be awful.
Yeah.
So as far as that's why that role made sense, because it's something I know how to do, and it's something that I'm good at, and it's something I enjoy, working the creative process from the producer role. But sticking it out was certainly tough. There's been plenty of times where the slow movement of the project was enough to make either of us or any of us pull our hair out. So, I think because it's a worthwhile story, and I think if the subject wasn't something that was meaningful to all of us, I think the whole team would have fallen apart 10 times over. But it's a story that needs to be told, and we work with people that want to tell it, even if it doesn't happen quite as quickly as we want. So you stick it out, you stick through the moments that are really frustrating because it's the right thing.
So what were some of your hopes in participating in this project and with Salam Garage, especially as your role?
Hopes for me or hopes for the project?
Oh.
For me personally, being involved in the community is important, and this is the way I wanted to do it. So it served as a really good introduction to this type of work, because I had only done one other thing like this, which was in Haiti, and wanting to get involved in my own community, this was a really great way to do it. And so this project satisfied my own hopes, which was to get involved. And my hopes for the project, I think half of them have been met and half of them remain to be met. The first half is that to get to work with a team of creative people on a project that could potentially have a lot of impact. I know it's had a lot of impact in my life, in the lives of the team members. I'd like to see it have impact in the lives of people who haven't really thought about this thing, to age out of foster care. And if we could get a room full of people to think about it for just 5 minutes longer than they would have otherwise, that would be meeting my hopes of the project. And maybe people do more with those thoughts afterwards, but get that process started.
Cool. So, it's a lot easier to do projects on your own. I know you've done your own projects, and there was in Haiti, but as a photographer, we're sort of project oriented. And, why not just do this on your own? Why not just call up Treehouse, which is one of the foster care agents in town, and meet up somebody and do a project, just, kind of Lone Ranger style?
Mm-hmm. Well, part of it, I think, is working with Slum Garage, who has a reputation. And so there's already an audience there, which makes a big difference when you're talking about something that's sort of a difficult subject. Not everybody wants to think about kids on the street or what happens when you age out of foster care, and having an audience that will receive that message because they trust the source makes a big difference. Also, this project it probably would have been faster on my own, but it would have been so much more painful. Despite it being faster and easier, having the work spread out amongst the team and having the support of that team makes a huge difference. And I mean, just the meeting that we had, every other month or every month, and that sort of camaraderie made all the difference, I think. Because it's a tough subject. It was a tough one to crack.
Mm-hmm. So I think you talked some of the pluses and minuses. What kind, as a producer, you have a different role than you were a photographer and a producer in this. You wore both hats. From your perspective as a co-producer, what did you see happen to the team over the course of these several months to practically a year?
Yeah, I think as a producer, watching a creative team work, it's always sort of mystery that things get done at all. But for this project, that it was over the span of such a long period, almost 2 years, over 2 years, watching the team kind of gain and lose momentum creatively speaking, momentum is crucial to a project running smoothly and having a good outcome. And so with this project, because it was community oriented and because it was volunteer based and because we were working with subjects that weren't always easy to reach, the project just couldn't go very quickly. And so it's tough when you lose momentum and you're sort of trying to, push things along. And as a producer, you're always pushing things along. But it gets really hard when the project altogether and everybody included sort of loses their drive, their gusto for the work. And it's unavoidable when something takes as long as a year or two,
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the drawbacks of a big community project in a subject like this. But one of the big pluses is also having a big community involved, like I said, because having the camaraderie of getting to share this work with a team is crucial. And having taken it on alone would have been much more than any one photographer or producer, no matter how wonderfully organized you are, could handle. I think it would have meant burnout almost within months. And we've been going for 2 years, so.
What did you see happen to people, like, from the beginning who had never heard of age out of foster care, never heard of even that term, to now? Like, what kind of, I think what I'm looking for is what sort of transformation did you see happen to the team? Because I know everybody was like gung-ho about producing and making media. Let's make stuff. But, did you see anything else happen besides that?
Yeah, certainly. I think people started to slowly kind of embody some of the frustration that, because things were hard to arrange, our subjects didn't always have phones or emails or, so I can imagine as somebody that aged out of foster care who doesn't have anything in their life that's reliable, our team trying to schedule with them and integrate with them started to kind of carry that frustration on our own part because it's difficult. But I think it's, in a way, it's sort of right that we got to feel that frustration a little bit too, because without all of the things that we are so used to, like cell phones and our email accounts and our homes, life is really tough and it gets really frustrating. And so watching people kind of work through that, it was difficult, and I wanted to find a way to make things move faster because I'm a producer and that's what I do. But I also was sort of like, well, that makes perfect sense. And then I also think a lot of people became really sort of tied to subject matter and the people that they met. I think Jeff is a good example. I mean, he has become fast friends with his interviewee. So
Ralph, yeah.
Yeah, with Ralph. So it's been pretty cool to get to watch those relationships grow. And I know Natalie had her relationships grow with some of the ladies she worked with. So watching those ties develop has been really cool. And relief. Like each time a story gets published, it goes up on the site and it's a sense of accomplishment because this has been a hard story. In every sense of the word, it's been really hard.
Yeah. Now there might be things that I'm not asking that you want to say, so feel free to chime with that too. What would you say to this audience of photographers and media makers about? I know that a lot of photographers are really amped to travel the world and do work in different countries and all over the place. And what would you say to them about projects in their own backyard?
That's a big one. I would say,
like, put some of the question in the answer. So
yeah.
Okay.
So when it comes to deciding between traveling the world and solving problems through the lens of your camera versus focusing on your community and what's happening right down the street, it is more exciting to go somewhere new and focus on a problem that you're not faced with daily. And it is harder to face those in need around you daily. I mean, it's very taxing to walk down the street and feel that every day from anybody you see that looks down. But it's harder, and I think it's has much more payoff. It's your home, and it's their home too. And so to give yourself and your work to that, I mean, it's tough, but it is worth it. I think it helps you grow as a photographer more than, or in a different way than a trip to India or Pakistan might change you. It's a different layer as a photographer.
And how about for you? Because you've done international work and then did this local project.
Yeah, and this local project compared to the international work that I've done is so hard in such a different way. This one, because it's been a really long project, and to sort of sit with the subject and work on story after story of what happens when you age out of foster care. It's sort of like long distance running to sprinting, because when you go somewhere, like I went to Haiti for a quick moment. I was there for 2 weeks and then was back, and I had months to process it and work on these images from afar. Whereas here, like, I look out at the city streets now and I think about our project, kids that aged out of foster care, and that's home. Like, that's so close to home. My heart being home. So, it's like they're both so hard in such different ways. And I think to grow as an artist and a member of your community, you should try both at some point in time. Space them out.
That's awesome. Where would you like to see the project go?
Into and onto the streets, into an art gallery and onto the streets. Let me start over. I would like to see this project go into a coffee shop or an art gallery or an exhibition, and I'd like to see it move around. I'd like to see those that shared their stories have an opportunity, if they'd like, to share with each other, and maybe that means they can come join us in an exhibition hall or an event where they can speak with one another or speak to the audience if they want. I think the ability to put faces to these stories even more than we have, would be really cool. And I think we got to do that as a team. We got to meet these people. And so the stories would go deeper for us. And if we could bring that to a room or a gallery full of people, that would be fantastic.
Cool. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Anything I didn't ask?
No.
Okay. That was great. That was really great. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, it's so last minute.
It's okay. I think I'm just gonna work on this all night and then do that. It's okay. I was going to a football game, but I'm not gonna go. I just can't do it all.
No.
I just want to. Good. It is recording. Is Christian someplace nearby? Is he interested in doing this still?
He's here. Yeah. Thumbs up.
All right. Okay, tell him hop in.
We'll switch around. Hold on.
Thanks, Steph.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Just
Skype you.
See-ish.
Just because it looked like a scrub out of my head.
It's not so bad.
No.
Hey.
Hey, Christian.
Oh, cool. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm a little chilly, which is not normal for me, so...
Oh,
tennis. Not getting sick or anything. But,
it's cold out.
yeah, I'm usually okay with that, but I'm not right now, so... no, whatever. Okay.
All right. So I sent the questions, and so there's those questions, but there's always like, what didn't I ask? What didn't I include? Those sort of, I try to keep them wide open. Yeah. But could you introduce yourself and say like, who you are, how you've contributed to the project, how you participate, and then what drew you to it?
Hi, my name is Christian Downs. I'm a contributing writer and editor for some of the stories that have been featured. I'm poet and student and wanderer and all those good things.
And so, what drew you to Salam Garage and this project specific?
Stephanie Hansen to the project.
Besides Steph.
Yeah,
Well, okay, I shouldn't say that.
but yeah, and her enthusiasm for the project and obvious kind of commitment to this being to being important was enough for me to sign on, before knowing kind of the full breadth of the initiative. And then it was like participating, I kind of realized that the topic at hand and was something that I have personal ties to, and my work experience and education and whatnot, all of those things are steeped in volunteerism and community and social justice issues. And so it was kind of like a wonderful moment of kind of serendipitous part of the path. So
Cool. So I'm actually I want to, if we can, remember that conversation we were having at that coffee shop when Jonathan showed up, like a little bit before, and this isn't on the question list, but you had mentioned something about like you were talking about, and you were actually glowing about what it was like to work a community project, like work in community as an artist with other artists on a topic around social justice. And you I don't know if you remember, but you were saying some pretty awesome things, and like you were, I thought, and
so I need a personal biographer to kind of follow me around.
well,
sure when I say smart things.
You said something really awesome, and it was something about like close to I live for this kind of stuff. It was close to that, like, coming from Tennessee to Seattle to a place that's kind of cold and that whole Seattle freeze, and then having this show up, and at that time in your life.
Oh, well, we had discussed as far as volunteer programs or community initiatives and that kind of thing, that at least here in this city, and it is the same for other places, there seems to be a kind of like put up or shut up kind of attitude. So you have to be willing to commit before kind of expecting things to kind of roll out. I'm not sure if that's exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah, more specifically, like you were new to town and having, I want to so that audiences of photographers and artists and like visual artists and media and community, and like what I wish I could remember exactly what you were saying. I do want to navigate. I want to circle around that topic.
Okay.
I don't know if
we were talking about it being like a resume builder versus.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I've worked in a lot of programs from YMCA to the Police Athletic League and AmeriCorps, and then within there, other groups, Tennessee Gorged, which is an environmental project, and Habitat for Humanity, of course. And so, and I guess we'll tie in with some of the other questions as well, but people have that kind of initiative. They want to help, but at some point, I think, the self-interest kind of comes into it, and that really tests your conviction as far as why you're in or with the project. And so I'm real adamant about people when you sign on, like get as much information as you can, and if it's not your thing, it's time to move on, because you don't want to be a disservice to the project. And you should be preserving the dignity of those people that who are your subjects. It's not a resume builder. Like it's not a means to networking. The subject at hand is those that you're intending to serve, and that's the most important thing. It's also the most difficult things, because there's no like linear way to approach that. Lots of demands that come out of nowhere, and it really tests your resolve.
Mm. So you said a lot of things that it isn't. Like, what do you think are some of the key things that it is?
that
Working in community projects,
it's it's a lot it's a lot of saying yes, even though you're acting on little information. It's about being ability to adapt um, and stick up for what you believe in, even if it's not the most popular voice at the table. And, and commitment, I think, but ultimately, it's the preservation of the dignity of those subjects that you're working with is single-handedly the most, because most of those other people, then, especially in our field, a lot of people that we're talking to and helping to tell their stories have never been shown that kind of dignity, or even knew that they had the right to any kind of dignity, and so that's bringing that to them is as important as we bringing their story to the surface.
So why not just this on your own? You're like pretty well established writer. You could probably, good conversationalist. Why not nudge some kid and be like, oh, I heard you age out of foster care and just do this.
Right. Yeah, individual efforts fail. And this is not one project that can be done by any individual. And ironically, because it's a team effort, and then the success will come from that. Each individual is like inexplicably important to that success, but no one of those individuals could make this happen or do it the justice that it deserves. And I don't know that anyone should try, but to do it on their own. So yeah, it's a team effort the whole way, or not at all, in my opinion.
What would you say to some other people that are in the audience right now listening? I mean, obviously not in the audience, but they will be, about, taking on a community project, a community media project, and specifically local. I mean, when I say community, I mean like something in their own backyard versus, some exotic, grandiose, something or other.
Right. Yeah, the most obvious answer is your next door neighbor is a hell of a lot less romantic, a topic than someone in India or China or Japan or any of the locales that we consider exotic, and most of that, in my opinion, like artists who go out to seek that kind of subject, it does smack a little bit of hubris, but that, and as I look at my next door neighbor right now, like I can think of all the things that bothers me about their daily way of life. And so the real challenge is is when we both go out to the mailbox at the same time, it's like, do you say hello, or do you say, what's going on, or that kind of thing, or do you just pretend that the penny saver is the most interesting thing that's happening in your life at the moment? And so that's much more it's much more of a challenging it's much more a challenge than in my opinion than packing your bags and going to a foreign locale, but because even in that situation you are the topic, like you are an outsider, and so everyone else, if any of us that work behind a medium, behind a wall, whether it's behind the camera or behind canvas or behind the page, it's a duty to exalt that subject of that individual without our direct interference in that. And so with the neighbor next door, that's much more difficult to do.
What do you mean by you are the topic?
I think everyone loves the idea of of being the artist with their perspective that has been affirmed on their own soil, and they go abroad, and those new experiences they're culminating in words and images and sketches, and yet by putting yourself in those locales, you're kind of making yourself the center of attention, and it's much more difficult to stay out of it. We've all seen like the kind of wandering photographer, the wandering artist through the bizarre, the crushing, like the sweat through shirt and all the, and there's part of us that's like, yes, I want to do that one, and that has a lot to do with our eagerness to discover and then create from that discovery, and and for some reason, I think overall feel that would come more easily abroad instead of across the balconies or the garden or the sidewalk with your neighbor.
And it sounds like it's actually pretty hard from what you said about the penny saver and like facing your neighbor every day or facing your community every day.
Yeah, I don't like to talk to people very much, so I'm as guilty as everyone else. So probably more so because I prefer to work more in isolation. But if you're going to work on something that you feel is important, or maybe you need a little convincing that it's important, being part of it and taking that first step or the first hello or the first contact, that kind of thing, is probably the most important part of whatever work you will create from there on out.
Well, what's your hope for this project? So we've produced all of our our first phase of stories. I don't know if we'll do more or what, but those are pretty much done. And so, what are your hopes for the project moving forward?
One thing that struck me initially talking about this with other people who wanted to know what Salam Garage was about is about in mentioning the aging out of foster care bit. I always noticed that change where it's you in the conversation you give them the knowledge that this is something that exists, that well, of course, you're helping them put the pieces together that they're like, oh, well, everyone's fairly familiar that foster care exists, but everyone also has that romanticized version of the Oliver Twist, kind of like lots of happy kids running around, or like they're terribly distraught, and then the story closes or the album closes, and like they forever say those children, and it's not the case at all. And so when you make that real for those people you talk to, I think that's part of what perpetuates the discussion. And so it's a global issue because there are orphans, children of all ages everywhere, all over the world. In fact, that it's a global issue and a national issue and a state issue and a city issue and a township issue. Like, it should be something that is as acknowledged and as important as we now recognize how wrong slavery is. That the right to vote and all of the other things that developing nations kind of aspire to, or that we should help kind of preserve that kind of growth. That this is a topic that is as personal between my neighbor and I, who we'll start talking here in the future about, as it is for any of our world leaders to discuss it as well. So,
did your neighbor age out of foster care?
No, that's I'm kind of convicted in talking about this. I haven't talked about this program at all with my neighbor, and they may have a perspective that is vitally important to someone next door to them, or 3 states away, or someone that would make a bigger or better impact than a group of us can, as they partner with another group and so on and so forth. It's my favorite poets, Walt Whitman, talked about life being the powerful play, and that each of us contributes a verse to that. And it is what I'm most drawn to through this program. It's what I hope that this topic becomes. It allows us to help others contribute their perspective or their verse to the power play.
That's awesome. For someone that doesn't like to talk to people, it's pretty eloquent.
Well, I know you.
Is there anything that you'd like to say that I didn't ask?
I think, especially these days, when we are kind of in an attitude of like push button immediacy, whether that's our computers or social media or anything, or remote control, anything. We kind of expect things to things that we engage to produce immediately, and in my experience, and I think others would agree that some of the most important things that someone can do is devote their life to something that produces far beyond, their scope of their foresight or their lives even. And I think that if all of us continue to contribute toward this being a national and global issue, something that's as relevant as any of the other important topics, that we've done a great service to those that haven't had a voice or a chance to speak, and it's definitely doing something worthwhile with your life.
Oh, wow, that's really sweet. That's really good. Wow. Both of you that's really fantastic. Woohoo! So I don't know if I asked you this, but do I have your permission to use any or all of this footage for the SPE?
You're taping this? No.
You knew that. It's Skype. Yeah.
Of course.
For anything related to Slum Garage.
Yes, of course.
Okay, cool. I think we're good.
Okay.
I can't think of anything else, and I really appreciate you guys, your efforts with Salam Garage in general, and a lot, and then the time you took for today. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now we're all done, and I've got to edit, so I'm gonna jump, and you guys have a nice weekend.
Yeah, me too.
You too. Have a great presentation.
Thank you. Maybe I'll share it with the group when it's all together with our next meeting, because
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, something like that. If I can get past all these technical snares, I've been swearing for like 2 days, so.
Yeah.
If only computers would do what I want them to do. Oh, anyway, okay, I'm going to get off, and you guys have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.